Welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. I'm Sean Schoenmakers, the owner of ActionCOACH Dallas, where we are helping business owners build and grow their businesses to ultimately improve their lives. Today, I have Angela Seaman. We are in so much of a treat, and she's the owner of the Seaman Group, or is it just Seaman Group?
Seaman Group. Just
Seaman Group. Sorry, I added the, my fault. But yeah,
all right.
but she'll tell us, of course, more details about that. And so we're going to be hearing about Angela's journey, some of the details of her business, and all the good things that she's doing in the world today. And if this is your first time on the channel, by the way, make sure you like, subscribe, do all those things so you can see all the other types of interviews that we post and get more of the learning and hear more about excellent people like Angela. So without further ado, could you tell us, Angela, or maybe first off, welcome. How's it going?
Thanks, Sean. I've been looking forward to this for 2 weeks now, I think. And I love your energy, and I'm excited about our conversation today. And I know it's going to be good and probably a little entertaining and probably, hopefully, helpful to other people. So thank you so much. I'm very excited.
Awesome. Good to have you on. I know you've been traveling, so hopefully we can squeeze a little more energy out of you for today. But
I'll try.
so yeah, maybe just give us an introduction to your company if you could, and tell us the problems that you solve.
Okay, so Seaman Group, I own a plastic resin distribution company. And so I sell the raw material, those little BBs that get melted down and made into plastic products. So my my customers are injection molders, extruders, and blow molders. So anyone that makes a plastic product. And then on the back end, I do a lot of recycling and toll work. So what does that mean? That means that I will buy back truckloads worth of plastic products, and I will do something to those plastic products, shred them, grind them, melt them down, make them into another pellet so they can be reused again, instead of sending that material straight into a landfill or ocean. And that's really what I like in doing. I like figuring out how to take that and turn it into another useful product. It's my niche, and it's probably the thing that drives me every single day. Getting in those rooms with engineers and the R&D team and trying to figure out solutions, and it saves money, right? And it helps our environment. And so that's my plastic side. And then I've also have a construction services company that's newer, and I know we'll dive into that in just a little bit more when we talk about diverting and pivoting and adding on additional growth opportunities. So that's the overview of Seaman Group. Yeah.
That's it. That's all you guys do. No, I'm
I
just
think
kidding.
that's
That's a lot of
that's it.
stuff. Yeah, it's a lot. No, it is a lot. Yeah,
That's it.
I remember way back. So as a former mechanical engineer, we did one of our classes at MIT. We did was a manufacturing class, and we had to create
Yeah.
yo-yos. And so we did injection molded yo-yos. And so I'm very familiar with the plastics and that those kinds
Yeah.
of things. And so it's cool. It's cool that you're large and in charge in that space, because it's there's
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, a lot of things
Yep.
are created that way. So
And one of the things I think that's so interesting from just here's a good story, just comparing what happened last week when I went and saw customers out of state. Um, One of the customers that I'm going to tell you about, automotive industry, and as you know, right now, tomorrow is very big day, right? We've got tariffs coming in on products coming into the states. And being here in Texas, I pull a lot of material out of Mexico. I pull some stuff out of Canada. And so last week I met with the some engineering guys, and we are trying to figure out how we can formulate a recycled material that's based here, coming out of the states, and they can add it into their prime material in order to cut costs.
mm,
And I think that I know there's a lot of uncertainty about what's about to happen starting tomorrow. But I do know that, and you know this too, entrepreneurship, there's going to be some great opportunities and great creativity
mhm.
that come out of
Yeah,
that. And last week was a prime example of what's about to happen. I know there is still uncertainty, but it's exciting at the same time.
yeah,
So I know that this week is a very busy week in trying to get with my team, my partner teams, and trying to nail down some formulations of material that we can get back into the supply chain and get used quickly, as all
yeah.
these things being tariffs are being put upon us.
Well, you can tell you're a business owner and entrepreneur because that's how typically those types of people look at these
Yep.
things. You said, "Hey, it's a problem, but really it's opportunity." Of course, they're the
Yep.
same thing, but where there is a problem, there's opportunity. And by the way, where there's opportunity, you can make money, you can help all kinds
Yes.
of people. There's all different
Huh?
benefits that come from that. So, true story, problem that creates opportunity. So we'll see what happens. You're
Yep.
already on the cutting edge, I guess. So,
We will see. We will
yeah.
see. We sure are trying though.
Yeah, good stuff. And we're glad you are. So thank you. So tell me, how and why did you start this company?
It's that's right based on what we just talked about. Entrepreneurship comes out of points of not only just desperation, but transition times, right? So I went through a divorce and I was selling supply chain software. And those salespeople who keep hitting their number and their commission keep getting cut. And then you
Mm.
hit your number again, your commission gets cut, and you're like, I'm out
Mm.
of here, right? So I would rather work for my own self instead of working for someone else and they cut my commission. So those two things really, really drove me to wake up and go, hey, what is my calling? What does God have upon my life? And what can I do to get out there to solve a problem that will drive me to want to get up every morning and hit the ground running and make a difference in the world? And so that's really how it all started, right? And 2018, I my one of my niches is I got minority certified. So I've got a WBE,
Mm.
a WOSB, EDOSB, DBE, and Hub certification. I can tell you what all those means if you want to. Those are 5 of minority certifications. And so that doesn't mean that I'm going to win the business always, right? But
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
invited to the table, even
Mhm.
even with all the D&I scrutiny that's going on these days. That's different than giving small business owners an opportunity to fight and win the business. And so that has really, really helped my company grow. And not only has it done that, it's built in a tribe around me. You know how,
Mhm.
mastermind, your group, Action Coach, BNI that we've talked about, all
Yeah.
those things help build in a structure and your tribe around you. And through my minority certifications, that those people around me have really come in and fortified my company and helped me grow a whole lot. So,
Yeah. Well, and that's so in Action Coach. One of the things we talk about is our the segment of growing business, where we're really focused on revenue and profit growth, is what we call a niche, right? And
huh?
so, and what happens, of course, when you get into a niche, one of the benefits of getting into a niche, which you've got those certifications. I wouldn't say that is like necessarily a niche, but it definitely makes you unique, and that's part of
Yeah.
what a niche is. But once you get into a more niche spot or place in the market, then it's also easier to find strategic partners, and it's easier to
Yeah.
find like client. There's a lot of things that become more easy once you're, or they become easier when you're in a niche like that. So, and that sounds like what you're seeing, like you said, the tribe that you've kind of built, being in those niches or having those designations that not everyone has. And so the ones that do, you get to know better, and now you have better partners and all kind of stuff. So good for you for being able to find your tribe or build the tribe. Really, is probably what happened.
Mhm.
So,
And I
no,
know
that's
you're a
probably
big supporter. I know you're a big supporter of that because you've helped, you've built a big company around that, of building up mastermind groups, right? And bringing expertise to other people that do own businesses. So I know
yeah.
that you've been very successful at that,
If you can help people, as we kind of talked earlier, right?
right?
Then typically that creates, people want to be helped, or they want good service, and so they'll come your way. So,
Mhm.
so good thing to focus on for sure.
Mhm.
So tell me who, and you mentioned this already, but maybe you can just specify. So who primarily does your business serve? Like if I'm in the audience, how do I know if I'm a good fit for your product or service?
Um, so like generally, I would say most people who make a plastic product, right? And so if you're a big guy and I don't distribute, the big branded prime, the Mercedes of or the Bentleys of plastic resin, I can always offer services on the back end, the recycling services,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
um, and toll work that I can offer in. And then so I'm probably a little in the middle, people that are open to recycled materials is
Hmm.
really, really my niche, where they think, hey, so construction, consumer goods, if they're containers or trash cans, or automotive is really embracing recycled materials now. So anyone who is actually open to that
Yeah.
is really my target.
Nice.
And yeah, so yeah, if that makes
Good.
sense.
Yeah. So for a little while, I was a co-owner of a metal recycling company. So it
I
was funny
saw that.
because, yeah,
Yeah, I
and
saw that.
so I'm again, I'm a fan of the recycling,
Yeah.
thinking, of course, but it's kind of funny because I think what's cool about the recycling idea is that you can basically take someone's waste and
Yep. And turn it
you
into
can
something.
make an opportunity and yeah, make money or turn it into something that's useful. And I tell people all the time, like, yeah, this metal recycling company I was a part of, I'm like, you know how you get your catalytic converter replaced? And they're like, yeah, or whatever the part is on your car. I'm like, you notice they don't hand it to you, right? Like they keep it. But I was like, guess what? That thing's actually worth some money. And so those auto shops, they just have the stockpile of these parts. And so we'd go and buy it from them and then we'd sell it to smelters who'd melt down the metals and all that stuff. So, anyways, it was just a cool way to take, again, what you'd probably consider waste, like plastic, and make it a win. Like
Hmm.
make another opportunity. So good for you. And you're helping the world. So
Yes.
so what would be something that I mean, obviously what you're doing and who you work with sounds kind of niche, like we talked about a little bit, but what do you think makes you unique? Like why do your customers or why do your clients choose you?
Um, I don't know if we've hit on this yet or not, but I think people do business with people that they like. And I think people that do business with people that they trust. So I think that's one element that I bring to the table is being grounded, and I work really hard, and I really do like to build trust, and I like relationships. I like people, and I'm not just a salesperson who's walking in with a menu of options and going, here you can pick, it's either A, B, or C, and that's all that you can have, right? I think I come in as a business owner and say, let's look at your problem and let's see if we can figure out a solution, an alternative, and be able to save you money. So I think my approach is is different. And yes, I am a salesperson, but I'm not like I'm a sweet salesperson. You know what I mean? I care, and I think that building trust. A lot of my customers, how I've built up the company, a lot of it's just word of mouth. It's just reputation, and you get in one place that goes to another, that goes to another, and being able to sit down and try to problem solve. With all the teams, not just the C-level guys who are buying, but it's the R&D team, it's the engineering team, and bringing everyone together to come up with an all inclusive, and everyone buys into the solution, and figuring out alternative ways of addressing the resin that they're using, right? And that is such a big spend for all these manufacturers, the amount of
Yeah.
resin that they have to use. And so
Mhm.
trying to really work together all inclusively, I think that has really, I know it's helped. It's not coming in and saying, here, this is what you need to do, but it's really working together to come up with a good solution. I think all entrepreneurs need to be able to do that. I think that's what separates. Let me clarify. Separates a lot of entrepreneurs, right? When they come in and like, let's figure this out together,
Yeah.
and problem solving, right?
Yes.
Let's come up with a solution as a team. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big, big difference, right? Don't you find that to be
For,
true?
well, for sure. I mean, from my perspective, it sounds like you're approaching it like you're a partner. You're not a
Yeah.
sales. I mean, you are a
Mhm.
salesperson, but you're a partner.
Yeah.
You're a partner that can help with different solutions to solve their problems. And
Yeah.
we talk about the different salespeople in like our trainings, and one of the salespeople that we talk about is the product pusher, who is sort of not the kind of
Yeah.
salesperson you want to be. That's where you're kind of. I think that's kind of what you're referencing. Oh, here's products
Yeah. It
A,
is.
B, or C. Which which one do you want? Whereas you're more the type of salesperson that we want to be like is the problem solver, which is exactly what you've been saying. Which if you can solve
Yeah.
problems, guess what? You're not really selling, you're solving problems. And by the way, we have
Yep.
products that can solve those problems. So yeah, you're gonna buy from me, right? So but that's what it sounds like you're coming in as, more as a partner. And who
Yeah.
doesn't want another partner to help solve problems? So
And one of the other things that I like to do, it'll be interesting to see how you classify this. So, uh, for instance, last week, I visited with a customer, and then I'm going to say on Friday, they emailed, no, they called and said, hey, we have this issue. We've got some scrapped resin or whatever that we're not able to use. Can you take it and do something to it and send it back to us to see if we can work it back into our process instead of them throwing away the material? And I'm like, I don't know, but let me think about it. And if I can, I will give you a solution. And if I can't, I will try my best to find someone, one of my friends, to be able to do it for you. So I am, and you probably do this as well. If I can't, I'm not just going to shut the door and go, bye. Let me see if there's someone that I can refer you out to. And I think that builds, again, trust in your community as well, because you're like handing off or making an introduction to another type of partner to go, hey, I can't do this, but can you? And I think that really goes a long, long way in building, like we're talking about, our tribe, right?
Yeah. I mean, so I can see how that totally builds trust. And it makes you a resource, period. Right? Like, hey, like you said, I may not have the answer, but if I don't, I'll see if I know someone. So either way, they're going to come to you as a resource. Because, hey, we know Angela can solve a lot of problems. She's already solved many for us. But you know what? We also know she can't solve it. She probably knows people that can. So we just need to go to Angela for all of our problems. And by the way, when you become the person that they go to, now, you guess what? You sell more, right? So, I mean, it's just being a resource. So that's excellent.
And I think that's another key thing, I think, for entrepreneurs too, right? Is, again, building the trust and building that type of community. And it's just the creativity, right? Of not saying no, but let's see if we can work it together.
Yeah. And honestly, a lot of people aren't always that interested in putting that, what I would call, effort into it. So when people see that you are willing and interested, then I'm sure they do come to you. So it sounds like they have. So let's chat just quickly about marketing. So this is can be a challenge area for a lot of different businesses. And sometimes, people struggle specifically with marketing. So what's been the number one marketing strategy that's brought you the most business?
We've talked about it just briefly. I would say my tribe, being a part of, I've taken on leadership roles in some of my women business organizations. So WB, Women Business Enterprise, right? That's where I got some of my certifications. So I sit on their national forum. And so that organization has just given back to me so much. It's truly, as what you put into it, you get out of it. It's been transformational. It's not, again, what you put into it. It's not like things just fall into my lap. I have to go and work it and commit and build relationships with others and prove myself. I was in the Toyota mentorship program. Am I selling directly to Toyota today? No, but guess what I am doing? I'm selling into their tier 1 suppliers now, supplying to Toyota. And that takes years, right? That doesn't happen just overnight. I'm in Women Presidents Organization. And again, that's where you again, what you put into it, you get out of it. It's building your network. So that has been very helpful. I've made a lot of mistakes, right? And I think those are the biggest lessons to learn, as you know, right? The mistakes you seem to learn more from than the successes. I do anyway.
Yes.
I wish that I could, there's 2 of me, or I could work 24 hours, or however you want to talk. I've missed out on some opportunities because of not following up quick enough, right? Yeah. And that sometimes it's bandwidth or whatever it is. So that marketing lesson is hard for me to swallow because I feel like I could have done more, right? Physically. I will tell you, LinkedIn, I'm trying to use that to the best of my ability, and I really believe in it. That has really made a difference. And other than that, it's me cold calling, getting lists and cold calling. And that's my marketing.
Love it.
So LinkedIn, kind of like you're a media genius. I mean, your content is fabulous. And you're so good with video.
I'm not sure I would. Good. I don't know if I'd call myself a media genius, but I appreciate the praise. But yeah, so I think I was chatting actually just this past weekend. I was on a fishing trip, and there was a financial advisor there, and we were talking about kind of the simple stuff that most people don't really want to do. Like you mentioned, cold calling. Like most people don't want. I mean, there's a lot of people that do cold call, but there's way more people that don't cold call, and they don't. I mean, it's probably not that comfortable for a lot of people, so they just don't do it. I'm not saying it's the end all strategy or whatever, but it's a strategy. And
Mhm.
whether it's that or some of the other like pretty well known but somewhat simple strategies, like if you can do the simple stuff and do it consistently, like it will yield, right? But again, a lot of people don't do it consistently. So anyway, props to you. I think cold calling is, of course, one of the oldest strategies in the
Yeah,
book, but a
you
lot of
got to
people
do
would
it.
say, "Oh, cold calling's dead." I'm like, it's not
No,
really
it's
dead. It's
not.
actually, yeah,
No, no, it's
a lot of
not.
companies still make a lot of money. I know some of my clients have gotten cold called and they've bought, right?
Yeah,
Because I ask them here and there, I'm like, "Oh, where'd you get that software? Or how'd you find that?" And they're like, "I got cold called." So,
yeah.
yeah,
And Sean, a lot of it, like to your point, is somebody asks,
yeah,
right? Ask
yeah,
for the sale.
yeah.
And if you don't pick up the phone and call, and it's easy. It's easy. I don't know if you see this, but it's easy to hide behind your computer,
Oh man,
sending an,
what I
isn't
would
it?
so it's definitely easy. What I think is probably most times the scenario is it's comfortable, right?
Okay.
But and I don't know if you're you seem reasonably outgoing. You're probably, I would guess, maybe more comfortable chatting with people, right? So maybe it might be uncomfortable for you to sit at a computer. I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I do think a lot of people, they're pretty comfortable sitting in front of the computer,
Right.
and you can make all kinds of posts and, oh, I do this all this activity. I mean, we see it with an action coach all the time. So, anyways, yeah, it's about getting out, getting a little uncomfortable, but doing the stuff that works. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Being across from someone too, making those face-to-face calls, building that relationship, night and day difference. My success rate of closing deals is way higher if I've been face to face, right? And I
yeah,
don't know, it just it makes a difference. It totally makes a difference.
yes. Well, we know the best form of communication is in person.
Yeah.
So, there's all the different tools, and I'm not going to start teaching here on the call, but all different
Right.
things, and most of those, um, well, you get all of them when you're in person. You get all the
Yeah.
modes of communication. Yep.
Hey,
So,
Sean, what do you find or what do you hear in your group as some of the best marketing things that we haven't talked about so far?
well, what usually is one of the biggest generators of business is referrals. And I know you mentioned your tribe, so we would probably call those people strategic partners,
Right.
which again is another, I would say, common. Those are so referrals, because word of mouth is what people call it, but it's referrals, and it's usually referrals from clients. And
Mm-hmm.
so that usually is one of the biggest forms of business for most people. Now the question is, what does that company or that business owner do to get more out of that, right?
Right.
Because a lot of people I talk to, they don't do anything in particular to get referrals from clients, but they get them because they do good work or they have good service or product or whatever, but they're not necessarily doing stuff to fan that flame, right? And
Right.
there's tons of strategies that can go into getting more referrals from your current clients. So, that is one of the probably more simple things that I think most people just could do more with. Let's put it that way. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it still ends up being one of the bigger revenue generators for a lot of people. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I'm sure you got referrals too, right? So, like you said. Um, so, what about switch gears a little bit? Looking back on your journey, which has had, I'm sure, some ups and downs and varying nooks and crannies, what do you think has been the most memorable or maybe the hardest challenge, and how did you overcome it?
Hmm. All right. I think one of the biggest lessons that I've obviously COVID, right? I think that was tough. That was tough. Manufacturing places being shut down, people
Yeah.
being sick and having to clean. I mean, COVID was truly, and I know probably everyone you talk to right now, so I'm trying to think of something more creative. I will tell you right now, it's unsettling. It's unsettling with the tariff stuff that's going on. Everything's going to be fine, and I think that uh, I'm. If you look at my LinkedIn, you'll see that doing a big push for manufacturing is going to come back to the States. So things are exciting on that side. It's just
Mm.
riding the wave and being consistent right now through all of this.
Yeah.
Um, I think one of the biggest things, I don't know if you call this regrets or lessons learned, and you and I talked about it just a minute ago. I think we were talking about having courage as entrepreneurs, and I don't have a safety net. There's no plan B, right? It is. this is it. Let's make it work. And you got to do whatever it takes to make it work. And I think
Yeah.
that tenacity and grit and the resilience has really, I come from a small town. I grew up, small town Texas. And I think those values that grandparents and parents instilled in me, they were all entrepreneurs. You've got to have grit. And if something needs to change, you change and you go. I think the biggest thing that I regret is those what ifs. Like, I wish that I would have had more courage to take leaps and to take risks in different areas where I look back and go, I missed it. But those are the greatest lessons I think that I have learned. And I think that's the biggest thing. And now at becoming older and wiser, it's taking calculated risks and figuring out not just building a business, but really focused in on how much revenue I can drive, right? Because there's a difference. You can sell all day long, but if you're not making any money, it doesn't matter. I think one of the other things that goes along with that is ripping the Band-Aid off quickly if something's not working, right? Yeah. Whether it's a partnership, a relationship, an employee, a product line, or whatever it is. Loyalty has been something that I don't know, it's terrible to say, to struggled with, right? Yeah. I will stay too long and things. And you've probably seen this. I bet you have some great examples of where you rip the Band-Aid off, let somebody go, or change directions or change partners. And once you do it, things just lighten up, right? And that's another one of my really big lessons learned, is staying too long.
Yeah, and honestly, it's I'll just say, particularly with team members, it's what most humans, which we're all humans, do, is it's can be difficult or challenging to let someone go. And I say let someone go. Really, again, we try to think of it as like, hey, look, if it's not fitting, that's okay. It's not good or bad. It's just what it is. And that person or whoever it is that may not be the best fit with you, they could be the best fit with somebody else. And so why try to force something that doesn't work, right? And that doesn't mean you shouldn't give it a chance or, help make it more likely that it's going to work out or be a success. But once you give it the chances, you move on and you go to the next one. So, but yeah, you're like most other people that have those challenges around that. And a lot of times, of course, being sort of the outside view when I work with clients, I'm like, and see people describe the situation, I'm like, it seems kind of obvious to me, but I know I'm not emotionally tied, right? So I totally see, because I've had the same instances in my business, right? So, but it's just kind of funny, like if someone else looks like the same situation, it's pretty clear, but when you're in it, it's not that clear.
It is. So, you're right. You're so right.
Yeah. It's tough. It's just tough. Yeah.
It is all the way around. So in your coaching of all your people, what are some of the bigger challenges you see for entrepreneurs that they deal with? Yeah. Or just or regrets or
it obviously varies. It's funny. What's interesting about that is every human has their own fears and their own thoughts about what's going to happen if they do certain things. And a lot of what goes into that is your beliefs. And so everyone has different beliefs, but again, you don't even necessarily see that those are really playing or impacting your decisions and your choices until you chat with maybe someone who doesn't have the belief, and then they kind of question, like, oh, that's interesting. Why do you think that, or where'd that come from? And they're like, what do you mean? Isn't that normal? It's like, no, I don't think that's normal. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, and you can shift it, but just that type of, again, what's called a blind spot. That type of blind spot, you can't even see it. Because so anyways, really it's all across the board. There's the typical challenges like team, time, money. All the businesses have the same types of challenges, but more specifically, it's going to depend on the person and the person's background and where they've come from and the things that they think are normal, but they may not be. So that's one of the cool things. That's why we like to do these interviews with someone like you, is when someone sees you say something like, oh, I've gotten all those results from cold calling, all of a sudden something clicks and they'll be like, oh, I thought cold calling was dead, and here Angela's making a huge business out of, and so it just, anytime you can see evidence of something, you might change your belief, and then it opens up a whole new path you just wouldn't consider. So anyway, those are lots of things that go into it, but yeah, there's the general cases, and then it's more specific to the owner, I would say.
Yeah.
So
great points.
But
very great points.
Thanks for the question, man. I feel like we're co-interviewing each other, but yeah. So, what about? Let's talk about the people because we did touch on that. What's been your biggest learning, and maybe you already described it, but what's been your biggest learning as an employer?
Let people go when they're not a fit. Let people
Yeah,
go when they're not a
yeah,
fit.
yeah.
And you can keep trying and trying and trying, because I've got that heart of wanting to, seeing the best in people and seeing their potential.
Yeah.
I've got those eyes, right? I'm like, I see the potential, right? If you were just able to get there. And I try, I think with all my heart to try to get people to realize their potential. And I think that's really the hardest thing is letting people go that's not the right fit. Um, and probably a lesson learned too is um, what some people's opinion are of someone, right? Isn't necessarily your truth, right? Just because, like what you just mentioned, Sean, when you were talked about beliefs, right? And so, what someone else's beliefs might skew them to look at something from this point of view may not match mine. And even though they may be a fit there may not be a fit for me. And so, I think is finding that right fit and building your team around you that you can trust. And I have people around me that are smarter than me, right? That see stuff that I don't see, and I think that is so important.
Mhm.
Um, and I'll tell you what else. If someone wants to sell and make me money, I will pay them, right? Because it is, you got that skill set and want to help build, do it. I do not, I'm not stingy as far as that goes.
Yes.
Because I want other people to succeed and be happy and flourish. And so those are probably some of my loyalty. If they're not the right fit, build your own assumptions, right? Try to pull out every ounce of ability and that someone has in themselves. And if the salesperson wants to make more money than me, rock on, I will pay you.
Heck yeah, sales is one of those skills that is typically highly compensated if you're successful, of course. And but
Yeah.
it's not the easiest to it's a smaller percentage of people that typically have that skill set. So definitely valuable. What about
Yeah.
if you started over today, right? What would you do different? You mentioned some maybe regrets or whatever it was. You say, hey, I wish I'd done this earlier.
Yeah.
But is there any one thing in particular that you did different?
Um, I think that I could build growth a little bit faster. I was pretty methodical about, step, prove out, step, prove out. I think that I could have brought on sustainable, taking a bigger risk and going after stuff. I think I could have grown faster. Um, Within reason. You know what I mean? I'm not telling people to go
Yeah,
out
yeah,
there and hey, just blow it out because you have to have stability underneath you in order to be able to sustain you to the next level.
yeah.
Um, I wish that and I think the biggest reason, I know the biggest reason that I did not do that is as starting out, things are better now, but I still encounter it even after I've built up, multi-millions of dollars company is that you have to find the right suppliers and you have to be able, it's financial stuff, cash flow, right? You've got to be able to manage that cash flow. You have to have the right banker. I have the best banker in town, Texas Security Bank. I have the
Nice.
best banker in town. And
Awesome.
my banker has been a mentor to me and has helped me grow to where I am today. And I know that when I get ready to go to the next level, which he knows is coming, he's going to be there right by my side and helping me prepare to grow that next level. So it's still a daily thing. As I grow, still have to have credit with the people that I'm buying from, right? And then my customers, I have to have insurance on them, but I've got to. So it's that sustainable, methodical growth, but taking a little more risk. I wish I would have done that.
Yeah, I tell you, it's that human. We've been wired that way for, depending on your beliefs, right? Billions or millions of
Yeah,
years, and it's not wired to take risk. It's wired to survive, and that usually
yeah,
doesn't involve taking risks. So it is. It can be so challenging to go against that grain, so
yeah,
to speak. Yeah.
yep, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Lessons learned. Yeah, daily occurrence.
Nice.
Daily occurrence.
So, couple other quick questions before we wrap up. So, what's next? What's your next goal, your next milestone for you?
Okay, so continue with my plastics business. We briefly talked about this just a little bit ago. So I have in a joint venture. I'm 51% owner with a construction company now, and so I am very excited about that. It is also woman owned, so there is still a niche. So whether it's Kay Bailey Hutchinson Center or it's still any government work or anything like that, there's still people are looking for good minority partners in the construction space. And
Yeah.
so how I got to these guys, this may be an interesting story. Um, so one of my favorite all-time customers.
Did you cold call? I'm just kidding.
I did. I did. Of course I did. Of
Okay.
course I did.
Okay.
So my business partner, his name is Chris Bowl, and he's a fantastic entrepreneur. And he's got this company called Waffle Mat, and it's these void boxes that click together like Legos, go underneath slabs. And so he uses recycled resin to make these boxes.
Cool.
And so Chris and I'd say we dated for a couple of years. And one day he looks at me and goes, "Hey, I like your work ethic." I'm like, "Hey, I like your work ethic." And he's just smart and brilliant and tenacious. You would like him. He's very vivacious like you are, gregarious and outgoing and just fun, right? And I'm like, he's like, do you want to partner on construction? I come from a construction background, grew up in construction. My dad, my grandfather, that's all I've ever known. And so he's like, let's do this. And so we have formed Seaman Group Construction Services. We did this in the end of 2023. And we do excavation work. We do a lot of dirt work. We just bid on some stuff for the tollway, for their expansion. We're working on some landfills projects and stuff. And so, Sean, I am super excited about these guys and the team that we have formed. They're tons of experience, and we're having some success right now. And I think this year is really going to be a banner year for us, just with growth. And I'm excited about it.
It's awesome. Sounds exciting. I'm getting excited just listening to you. So that's good stuff.
Well, you'll have to come meet the guys. Our office is in Joshua, Texas, out past Fort Worth. So you have to come and visit us.
Yeah, I'll check it out for sure. I'm up for don't tempt me with a good time, as they say. So nice. Well, a couple of final questions. If others would like to learn more about you, learn more about the company, yourself, how do we get in contact? How do we contact you?
A couple of different ways. Obviously, I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I've got support staff that helps with that as well. Then you can go to my website, which is seaman-group.com. You'll see on the landing page, you'll see my plastic side, and you'll see my construction side. On there's my phone number. I'm very accessible. My email address is there, and I would love to help out, whether it's someone who is making a plastic product overseas and is ready to bring it back to the States because of what's happening. Or if you got a concept for a plastic product and you want to take it to market, call me. Let's see if we can figure it out. I have a great team behind us that can help do that. And then if you got a construction project too here locally in the Texas area, please give us a shout. We've got a fabrication shop as well. We've got some welders on staff. We do metal work, and so give me a shout. Phone, email, LinkedIn, whatever it is.
Awesome. Good stuff. Appreciate that. And any special offers you'd like to offer to any listeners?
So in my space, I can't offer like a coupon or anything like that. But if you want to further have a discussion about entrepreneurship or taking risk or building a company, if there are any females out there that are looking for certification, I am happy to walk you through the process and introduce you to people. And then again, if there's anybody out there wanting to build something, let us know. We would be glad to host you in our office in Joshua, Texas, and you can meet the team. So I think that's what I can offer, friendship and maybe a little bit of fun along the way.
Nice. Awesome stuff. I'm sure people will take you up on that. So, well, thanks so much, Angela. Really appreciate all the candidness and information you provided. And thanks to the audience for hopefully watching, get some good nuggets. And until next time, make it a great day.